will never have pizza. And here you are, we're having pizza. We always had great food, and we have somebody here from FIB. Rafael, where are you in? He's in the back, he will come in the front row in a minute. So up to now, FIB was doing the food, and today your food is brought to you by our Ministry of Economic Affairs, and we have pizza. So, who cares? So I'm sure most of you are quite okay with pizzas. As it's about food integrity, I'm a bit dubious about it. I mean, come on, how empty are pizzas? Right. So you're here at the Food Integrity Blockchains Meetup number 1818, and we are the last meetup of the year. We actually expect the group as it is today. It's relatively small. We normally have about 60 to 100 people. We actually like it because it's actually the location very much suits itself for a small interaction, and it really deepens the discussion. So I know a few of you are pretty new, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if 1990% will be new. I'm going to test this in a minute, but I really think it's gonna for you it's good news because you can really get more out of the meetup as we have it. We have a new screen here. Looks great, guys. Nice. You are at Meet Berlage. Meet Berlage is a meetup space. You see this large table behind you. We were there today, well, from what we call Block Down. This is very Twitterable, and you can find it in a lot of, I would say, tech networks. Blockdown is just blockchain people, blockchain enthusiasts. You don't need to understand blockchain. Nobody understands blockchain. I think, I wonder if you can confirm that to me, Frans, but I think nobody really understands it. We just try to sort of somehow try to get where it goes. We try to understand a little piece of it. But Blockdown has the ambition to really meet people very low scale, or very low, how do you say that, low barrier, every Tuesday from 10 up till now. So if you are eager to get more of blockchain, even if it isn't about food, then this is the place to come meet Berlage. That's those people are the Meet Berlage people. Hi. Yes. All right. The meetup has got 1,565 members. We do live stream this. Where are the live stream cameras? We have a new setup. That's people there, and that's one, right? Yeah. And what I know is that we have people from Italy watching, we have people from it's from Kenya, from Nigeria, and from Washington, DC. So there are not a lot of people in terms of, we don't have hundreds, but those who are here are very sort of content committed. And I see Jan here, and I think, Jan, you weren't at the first meetup, but you've seen quite a lot. The second one, huh? Yeah, you're diehard. Yeah, we do have some diehards here.
I grow up 18.
Yes, you did. You did, yeah. So that's the meetup. Who's here? I know that you said you were here for the first meetup. Who's here for the first time on a meetup? See? Cool. How did you hear about this? Just some...
So you Google blockchain meetup events.
Yeah.
And some of the, I guess like because of this meetup, yeah, it's called meetup.
Yeah.
So this page
comes up. You try it. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried that.
Yeah. Anybody who didn't use Google? Yeah. Yeah. I just want to hear how you have that.
Yeah, I recently made some new friends on LinkedIn in the food industry. It popped up as a suggestion to go to.
LinkedIn. Yeah. LinkedIn too. Yeah. For you?
Same.
You go LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody else?
Heard it from you.
Yeah. Good. Yes. That works. Mouth to mouth. It's still here. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
I heard about it from my teacher, Chris.
Yeah.
So that's why. And I also help out.
Yeah. Not a little bit. This is massively critical. Yeah. So that's also mouth to mouth. It still works. Yeah. And he's a diehard.
What is it for?
You do, yes. Yeah, and it's lonely,
Yeah,
right?
No.
can follow us, and we, of course, we said, if you see this, like, God, I mean, you do every channel. Yes, we do, because we have a very broad network. It goes from farmer. We usually have at least one farmer. We don't tonight because it's actually a very busy period again. And we have retail companies. Anybody here from a retail company? Oh, this is the first time. Anybody from a food company? It's green. Yeah, sort of food company-ish. Yeah. And what we actually concluded is that every type of company or every type of organization, of person, has a different network. Twitter is very active for farmers, Facebook is very active for consumers, and we thought if we want to get the whole network, we have to use all of them. So we don't use them all as frequently, but we really try to keep them busy. So this is where you can find us, and this is where we would very much appreciate if you sort of, share your ideas about pizza or anything else. We have about 2 hours of content, and I'm gonna try to shorten the first part, which is really to get you some news on what's happening. Then we will start with what we call our own AgUnity case. And so many people are new here too. I'm gonna turn the question around. Who's here at least for the second time? Wow, yeah, okay, so that's really, that's not even 20%. When we started this meetup, we wanted to learn more about blockchain as a technology in the space of food, so in the domain of food. And we call it food integrity because we believe with the growing population, with the growing pressures on our resources, we need to be more careful on how we distribute nutrition. That's actually the bottom line of it. We want to outcompete bad food, so we want to outcompete pizza, practically. Don't tell New York, pizza. And then we said, well, if we want to learn, we can, so we bring in one new case every month. So the one that we have now, we call this 2018, and it's actually a very interesting one because we have different people who will flash back on the past year in terms of blockchain and food, and tell us or share their thinking on what happened this year, and maybe a big review or preview to next year. But normally we have a case, what means that we have a new case that is working on an implementation to tell what they're doing, how they went in their design process, and what their technical application is. So, for example, we had Albert Heijn's orange juice, we've had Philips, we've had Ripe, which is a company from the US. We've had 17 cases, and that's how we learn. So we learn from people who tell their story. Now, while we were in that process, we also thought, well, that's one thing of the learning, but how important is it if you would have a continuity in a particular case where you really start to deep dive the technology? So at the beginning of this year, we had an election and we chose AgUnity out of 5 as our adopted case, and we started to work with them on a continuous basis. So every month, AgUnity tells them what they're doing. We ask questions and we also give them advice. We do this from a case team, and in this way we really start to deep dive more on why and how you apply or do not apply blockchain technology. So that's soon to come. Then we have an election of our next case for next year. We followed AgUnity for a whole year, but we will follow our next case for only half a year. Because we feel the field is further, we developed, a few things that we know, so there's, we can have shorter learning loops. So for the first half, we will have the case that we're going to select tonight, and we really hope that some of the viewers are going to join in on this choice making, and that's the case that we will have as our own adopted case. Then we have a break. We will have, of course, champagne, and this is also good news. As we are few people, we have a lot of champagne. And then the fun bit starts. So we will have the Franses, they're on this line. We're going to tell, they have a very long history in blockchain and food, and not food, but blockchain particularly. We have Lan Ge, who's coming in still from Wageningen University. and we have Anna from Deloitte. And Deloitte is also it's one of the big five who really invested heavily in blockchain. There is a yearly blockchain hackathon event in Groningen. This is the north of the Netherlands. Anybody been to or heard about the blockchain hackathon? Yeah, a bit, eh? Yeah, sort of ish, yeah. This is really, I mean, in Groningen you have these things. You have these big buildings, nothing is happening, and you can have like hundreds of people who sit there for the whole weekend. This is more difficult in Amsterdam, and in Groningen it's easy to organize. And they had, I think, about 30 teams of at least 10, well, 7 to 10 people. Was it 30 France? I think so. Yeah, so 300 and then all sort of supporting people, so at least 500 people a whole weekend long. And Deloitte had a lot of teams there, so they really invest in understanding the technology and working on it. So that's the cases, so we're going to have them today. And then we're going to have a panel. And as we like to reverse things once in a while, the panel is you. So we have the cases and the blockchain knowledgeable people on this side, and you are the panel, and that's in a way, you know, get the critical questions out, but be opportunistic, you know, get your question out here, use the space that we have, and get your agenda out there. At the end we have what we call the pitching floor, and normally we have a 1 minute pitch, and then people feel like, oh, that's nothing, but if you're in the 1 minute, it's pretty much where you can pitch something you want to bring to the community or something you want to get. So if you're working on something, you're looking for somebody, that's the place to sort of let it know. Come to me in the break if you have something to share, if you have something to get, if you are, if you just want to get something out there and get people to know of it. Yeah? It's a pitching floor. The forked news. So by the way, so this is the FIB network, right? It's Food Integrity Blockchain Network. It's we have no sponsors. We had sponsors. We're going to talk about sponsors in a minute. But we really want it to be a free learning platform. We don't want any sort of particular interest to take us into one direction. This is here for you to learn. Finally, that's the key objective. On blockchain in the use case of food. But we also think food is a good use case to learn blockchain, because food is, everybody has an imagination with food. And I think if it goes to, I don't know, voting or what's cryptocurrency, maybe it's more difficult to understand. Food is an easier topic. We have a few things to mention for our next year. So we've had the meetup in this location for the past few sessions. We're going to move to Science Park. Science Park is in the east of Amsterdam. For some people who live in Amsterdam, it feels very far. It feels like it's the outskirts of Amsterdam. It's not. We have a train station in Science Park, it's called Science Park. And we have science, and this is actually one of the reasons why we think it's very cool and useful to be there. It's sponsored from, well, in the end, Science Park itself, so that's the Free University of Amsterdam, and that is the UvA, University of Amsterdam, and there are a lot of sort of startup initiatives happening there. Last case that we had here was very technical, and it was from the Center for Wiskunde, the Center for Math and Information, which is part of this Science Park. And it really, for us, it makes sense to be there, because we want to be sort of knowledge-rich. So that's one thing. So we're going to move. This will be the last time here. We're really very sad because of the atmosphere, because, you know, the Beurs van Berlage is very money, so in a way, we'll be back, yeah, we'll come crying. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I mean, come on, this view, you know, I want my living room to be like this, but anyway. Sorry. So Science Park will be. We will have the same setup, unless you have very good ideas and suggestions. But normally, I think it works in a way in terms of learning. We had great food. Raphael, I'm looking. So Raphael with his hand in the air He works with Fair Food, and for more than a year Fair Food sponsored the food, so we had very fair food, we had a story with the food, and now we have with Ministry Food, from the Ministry, I said the Ministry of Economics, it's LNV's, Ministry of Agriculture, yeah, Land, Nature and Fisheries. And if you know anybody, or if you can think of anybody who would be sort of interested to sponsor the food, so not the content but the food, we'd be keen to know. And we find out something otherwise, but for now it's thank you our ministry. And we look for somebody to chip in on that. And we thank Fair Food very much for the support they gave over the past year plus. Yeah, Fair Food! Yeah, that's the Fair Food coming in, now the non-Fair Food. Yeah. The thing we're going to talk about now is the Blockchain for Food Summit. I have to laugh, Frans, because Frans he's got event fatigue. You know what that means? When it's the end of the year, you have everybody, we have this event, come and do something. And so, we have another event. Wow, fantastic. Yeah. But we definitely we want to spend some time to share the design as it stands now, and we need your input on this. So, what it is, what we envision, it's a week in which we have food as the core theme. The key theme in food will be safety and circularity, because we think blockchain is very strong in terms of improving food safety. Imagine that you would have your digital pizza passport and you would know exactly where things come from and what happened in the meantime while it was handled from A to B. And we think it's very potential for circularity, where you can think of zero waste, you can think of more complex peer-to-peer economies. There were some people who actually hope to get a better view on peer-to-peer economies. We think that's where the future lies, and that's why we want to have it as a theme, to see how we can move faster towards a more circular food system. So that's the two food themes. We have two technical teams. One technical theme, I have to say, is about public versus private blockchain platforms. We had a piece on this in our newsletter. We had a newsletter. Anybody doesn't know about this? Anybody doesn't know about the newsletter? Yeah. If you want to get it, it's once a month. Come to us, and we're keen to get it to you. A key discussion point there is that in most applications in blockchain, in the space of food, it's a private blockchain. In a way that makes sense, because food systems are pretty much still, by and large, private systems. So the blockchain application platform that they go for is in a private, in a sort of a closed setting. So there's no sort of open, distributed database, but it's pretty much an organized, pretty centralized database. And we think it's key to have this as a topic in a summit, where we're going to try and see, so if you put your blockchain in a more open environment, what happens? What's the benefit? What's the risk? How can we push private investments in blockchain technology in food towards a more permissionless reality? Because in the end it does bring a lot of, we all expect it to bring a lot of benefits. But does it, and how can we help investment move towards it? The other one is the GDPR. GDPR stands for, what's it in Dutch? Yeah, thank you. It basically says that you have the right to be forgotten. Blockchain says you have a lot of rights except for being forgotten. So there's an issue there. Now, to put it sort of centerpiece in a week, in an innovation week, in a summit, is really to understand, so what are the ways around it? There are ways around it. And how can you again unleash investments so we sort of advance on the technology without running into legal problems, legal issues. So, food topics, technical topics, and then we have 3 tracks. we had very practical tracks. Actually, we put the track on marijuana as one of the 3 tracks. It's a very interesting track. Blockchain can do something with it. But it's also, I mean, this is really, it's supported by at least 4 ministries. It's not always the easiest topic to start off with. So then, after some discussions, we thought, well, why don't we make it 3 tracks where we say 1 track is on logistics. So how can you get your logistics with the support of blockchain better organized in a food system? A second one on finance. I mean, food systems by their essence are limited in terms of liquidity. So you really want to liquefy agricultural food supply chain. And a third one on transparency, because that's actually, we all know sort of blockchain transparency, they're seen as sort of one and the same. So these 3 tracks as sort of the guiding tracks, and then inviting the whole global ecosystem in each of these, being part of the digital, we have a Dutch digitization strategy. I know this only since 2 months. And not even, I think it's less than that. It's a strategy that we have at national level across all the ministries. It's sort of situated and it's rooted in the Ministry of Economic Affairs. And we want to see if we can have this Blockchain for Food Summit as part of this digitization strategy. And this is where Frans starts society like, oh no, another thing in this digitization strategy. And it has to be, of course, international. Now, this is the design. It's planned for March. A lot of people, including those from the ministry, but also from companies like Aldo has, like Philips, they really like the idea to have blockchain as a theme, as a summit theme, on a very concrete topic as food. Because we all need food in the end. Now, the reason why we're sharing this with you is, yes, of course, we want you to be aware of it, but we also want you to co-shape it. So, I mean, apparently you're all interested in food, you're interested in blockchain for some reason. Now, what can be something, if you think about this, so there's a whole week, high level, it's a top within our national strategy. What would you like to see? What do you want to see? What do you think would really make a tick for you? Be it a subject, be it an issue, be it on the issues that we mentioned, be it on something you think is really missing in the debate. So I'm opening the floor now, it's back to you. Well, what do we need to take in this design? It's good if you say your name at least and maybe your organization.
Right, I'm Salah from React in Response. One of the questions that's always raised when I talk about this is I think governance. I think the checker of information and like the situation in the reality and how it's being data entered into the blockchain. So how can we can, everything within the blockchain is very verifiable, of course, but how do we know if it's like that in the real world?
Yeah.
I think that's a very important question.
So it's about data entry, and it's about sort of having a nice blockchain experiment, but really using it in your...
You can validate things within the blockchain, but you need to be able to validate the reality outside it as well. So I think that's very hard when you try to check on labels like fair food, etc. That's a very, I think it's a big problem. So how do you solve that for everything that's missing or put into the blockchain?
Yeah.
It has to do, I think, maybe I can reword it.
You have to talk in a mic. Yeah. But then it goes to the one who raised you need to. Yeah.
Sure. My name is Jan Blomhout. I have a data analytics company. Perhaps I would like to reword it. You mentioned that integrity and transparency is there within the blockchain itself, but you would like it to be maintained in parallel between the physical stream of the supply chain or whatever and the blockchain, the software representation. Is that what you want?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think my topic is quite similar. Mango. Yes, I'm Mango from Natur. So in the end, of course, the blockchain by definition provides the transparency and integrity, but it's what garbage in is garbage out, basically. So how do you really prevent a proof system or ecosystem that can actually prove there is no contamination, no counterfeiting, no fraud in that entire chain? Because there only needs to be one person who repackages horse meat for beef or the other way around, and the labels can be perfectly. So there are a number of solutions out there, like genetic fingerprinting and these type of things, but maybe not so very scalable, and maybe not a solution for all types of foods or other products that use it. But I think it's a big topic, because that's sort of the weak link, I think, at the moment.
Yes, yeah. So that's basically it's got the data input, of course, data in output, and it's also got the physical digital connect. How do you connect your physical and your digital?
Maybe a totally different subject, but related, I think.
Bas.
Yeah, Bas. I'm Bas. I'm from the FIB Network in the south of the Netherlands, in the province of Brabant. But I would like to know how the blockchain could contribute to a more fairer food system. So, and then in the status that we have a more or less congregated supply chain with lots of consumers, few suppliers, and the power in the food chain is concentrated. And I think it would be nice to look on a more broader level how the blockchain can contribute to a more fairer and more distributed power network within the blockchain.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, good to yeah. Yes.
So I'm Robert. I'm a service designer, so I help companies to design services. And I've been working in the agri-tech industry last year. What I miss a little bit, and maybe it's part of the journey, but it looks a little bit technical. So the actual use cases and how the actual data is used in a successful business model as well. So maybe it's part of your problem. That's what I didn't see on there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. To make it practical, right? Yeah. The idea is to take some real, very practical cases, like for example, the marijuana use case there, where you have one particular case with very specific players, but also like palm oil. Palm oil is a very specific product. Yeah. You had something? No?
Yeah. We're talking use cases, right? And things we want to see in the hackathon, right?
Okay.
Oh, hi. My name is Chris, and I'm one of the trainers at work, and I'm also a teacher. I would like to see is the inheritances of knowledge sharing. So we have a lot of open source systems nowadays, but we have no accountability who's using that. I would love to see blockchain to be used in a way that I share my programming knowledge, for example, and that you would take that program and build something upon it. So at once upon a time that you make really cool money or something cool with it, it can still be traced back in some part back to me, which is currently impossible to do. Maybe you can look into blockchain doing that. Yeah. And secondary, of course, looking for blockchain in education purposes, but that's me as a teacher. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Then it's already time, I'm aware. It's AgUnity time. It's our own case time. Yes. Is Angus ready? So what we do with this, we will post the progress on the blockchain in food summits, and it's recorded, so we definitely take your comments in the report for the ministries this December still. That was the introduction, the news, and then we go to learning, finally. Now finally we learn something, Hans.
Hello, I'm Hans Kelf. I'm one of those enthusiasts that's been here all day to talk about blockchain. I continue. We're a bit on time, so I'll try to speed up a little. We're going to talk about learnings, but actually we don't go quite into deep today because we did a lot of cases of studies the last month with AgUnity, and do like a wrap up of the last year.
Rick already told you once upon a long ago, we had a quest to find an initiative use blockchain for food that you could follow for almost a year and we could learn and share our knowledge with. So we had an election with 3 candidates actually at the end. We started with 5, but one of them didn't show up and the other one didn't show up as well. First one was Fairfood. They had a case to show about mobile payments. They did a blockchain experiment with coconuts from Indonesia, and farmers were paid in fiat money, and they got to send an SMS that, yeah, I already received the money, so please put it on the blockchain. They were looking for something better. There was another pitch from Flava beer shots. It was a company that created some liquid that you put into beer to give it a special taste. That you can make your own cherry flavored beer or whatever flavored beer, maybe pizza flavored beer or something like that. And we had AgUnity. And is there audio available actually from the presentation?
You didn't prepare us for that.
It doesn't go through your screen.
Right, so
there wasn't any word about a video, so I didn't.
Okay, it's just, I had a small video of the pitch that was didn't even start yet. But in this small video, this man here we spoke 12 months in a row with, he explained that they had found something that would help smallholders in poor countries to have a 3 times higher yield from their land with And yeah, they organized themselves. They were a social enterprise, at least the AgUnity top-level organization. Data that's collected by the farmers doing the transactions, that's owned by the farmers themselves. It's, in my opinion, a good application of blockchain, that you're self-sovereign about your data and your valuables using blockchain. So what did we do in the last 12 months? We covered 9 different subjects about all kinds of aspects of the AgUnity process, the company, the technology, the legal and ethical aspects. We're not going to repeat them all, but if you want to know something, please contact me after the presentation. We created 5.5 hours of content in total. We got support from more than 15 volunteers. A few of them are walking around here, sitting there in the back. We had it was a great time to work together. And after those 9 sessions, I thought it was time for having some conclusions about the process and the product. One of the conclusions is that the idea is brilliant, but the business model is quite hard. Until now, they still need foreign money to invest, to buy the cell phones, to give to the farmers, to go to the rural areas and to implement the system. And because you still need foreign money, this is not a big revenue generator yet. That's why scaling is not easy. You can't just throw it out and just say to everybody, "Oh, this is a nice app, just use it." It really has to be explained, and you need a lot of people to do that. And there's many parties involved. If you go into a country, you have to apply to a lot of rules and regulation. So sometimes you need an NGO to enter the country, because they already have the contacts in the network and they know where to apply the technology, which community is willing to adopt it. And working together with an NGO is not always an easy part. And it's easy to find people that think, "Oh, that's a good idea, we can put this and that, and we could sell training with it, and we could do this with that." And that makes it, projects more difficult. People want more things than just the core functionality, just helping the people getting more revenue from their land. And the process, working with a lot of people on a subject that no one is really expert in, at least not in the AgUnity product itself, because no one of us worked really there. So it was kind of difficult to really grasp the status, because AgUnity is a company, it doesn't share everything. We had a lot of insights, and we were lucky with that. But sometimes it was difficult to really find out how it worked, what they were doing. So we couldn't always supply the right and correct information. It was also quite interesting to work every time with different kind of people. This meetup was also organized with Megan over there. Last month with someone else, and sometimes there was just someone volunteering to do a lot of research and present. So that made it a very interesting process. We learned to know a lot of people and to learn how to cooperate is also a good thing. It's always interesting. So then I was also wondering, what were your experience? Because there were a few people that are like Jan, you were here from the beginning almost. How did you experience the way we treated AgUnity in the case?
I'll be very honest. This is exactly what I thought when it was chosen. That it was a difficult business case. Because, I mean, the motives are very noble, I would say. Yeah. But I do see that individual farmers in developing countries have little to spend, and you have a lot of difficulty to communicate it. That's, nevertheless, if you find sources of
yeah, that was what I expected as well. It was interesting to look at it from a lot of different angles. So anybody else would like to comment on the process of having a case every month about the same company subject? Rafael, could you speak in the mic for all the people at home?
I like that we followed one case for a longer time frame because it allows you to learn about different topics regarding blockchain. So we had once, I think, smart contracts and then the architecture, scalability, yeah, ethical. So then you can really look at one project from many different angles. So I think that's a nice learning experience.
Yeah, I thought about some extra questions, but I would like to spend the time on the interview with Angus, because Angus is always waking up in the middle of the night to talk with us about this subject. We've prepared a few questions for him, but we'd like to have a discussion with Angus about what you liked and what you not liked. He's going to tell us what he liked and what he didn't like. So let's go for that. Is Angus online already?
Oh, we can try it.
He is away, for sure.
He is online.
We wait for the technique to...
Hello? Hello, Angus? Hello?
Hello.
Can we get him on screen as well? Or? This is always the funny part of the case, that we try to do the Skype thing, but and we would like to see him and to hear him as well. Oh, come on. The cable is not that long, but oh. These are the questions we sent to Angus, so we hope that he has an answer to that. Oh, there he is, I think. Oh no, no. But just hear myself a little bit more.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, the awesome thing about this is that we were never able to test it before we actually had everything set. Hooray! It's like blockchain. Ask me a question.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Hi, I'm Theo. I'm completely new to this meetup, but it's actually very nice. What was the consideration to choose such a difficult business model from the audience that was there a year ago? They choose one of the most difficult business models to implement blockchain. You knew you were working with starting technology, and then you try to implement it in such a harsh environment. Why was that decision made?
Good morning. Is that Frans?
Yeah, that's a question for Angus. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We actually back then we set criteria, learning criteria, and because it were learning criteria, the more complex, the more you get a lot of learning. Yeah. Yeah, but it's a very good, valid question, because that's really what it was. Yeah. Yeah. And also, I mean, smallholders in India and China alone, 60% of world farmers reside. They're smallholders. So it's also in terms of, if you get something to work at smallholder level, it's very relevant. It's very, it really matters. It really makes a big deal. I think at least what I recall from the discussion back then, that was a real criteria. Yeah.
It was a beauty contest. Yeah. And this was the most beautiful project of them all. Yes. That's why we voted for it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Angus. Yeah, almost. Yeah, we will. But maybe Nick, can you say, because you were involved very much in the sort of discussion, so how do you pick a case, and what's then how do you sort of guide this learning process in the most stable manner with such a loose community? Because I think we have 80-90% new people all the time. How do you get that? Maybe you can give some feedback of your own experience.
Well, what I found most interesting is just do it, try it, see if you can follow a case for more than one presentation. That was the whole starting point of it. And well, for me, it didn't matter what project we chose because it was new all the way. And would it be possible to contribute anything to the company that presented itself? And that's what we're going to hear from Angus, hopefully. And I think it's still very interesting to see that's done for a whole year. That's quite exceptional, because these meetups most of the times is all about sending information and receiving information, and that's it. So you get 6-7 people to present something, and then it stops. And in this meetup, we continue the story, in this case for a whole year, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. So then at least we know that this time around we have we have in principle 4 cases, because again we never know who's going to show up. It's a loose network, and let's see what comes. We have 4. They're very different, and this time we also decided not to give you a sort of to have a pre-discussion on what sort of criteria should lead your selection. So we have no criteria. We really think, it should be up to every individual to check.
Work around.
Okay. Okay. So Angus is based in Australia. It's 4 a.m. And we wanted to get one meetup. We had Angus in front of us, really looking very fresh and ready to go. And then we were discussing whether it was Angus, whether it was your roommate or whoever. There was somebody in the back of Angus, sort of crossing the screen. You remember? Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah. Wow. Angus, fantastic. Welcome to your last showtime.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
We were just recalling the flatmates experience.
That was a little bit embarrassing, but
no, that was good. Thanks again for. I have to stand here, right? Yeah, I'm going to give it over to Hans. Great, Angus, to see you, and wake up early. Yay, Angus!
Yeah. Angus, glad you're finally here, and you're looking good this morning. Looking back at the last year of cases, what was the best advice we gave you from the network?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've had the chance to reflect on these questions, but a couple of things come to mind. I think for us, something that was very interesting and very helpful was when the Meetup team did kind of an independent review of some of the blockchain platforms, because we were kind of looking internally at different platforms and looking specifically at scalability and I guess enterprise solutions. And I think it was just very helpful, and it was very informative when the team kind of did a bit of it was like a transactional cost between, the Bitcoin platform, Ethereum, and in this case, it was compared against NEM. And, what we were able to see is that, Bitcoin's quite expensive. Ethereum's still pretty expensive, but a bit cheaper. NEM's a lot cheaper, but it's actually still at scale going to be expensive, and someone's going to have to pay for all those transaction fees. So that was a really interesting process to go through, and there was obviously all the other, I guess, comparisons that came out of that as well. So that was definitely something that I think we found very valuable. And then also more recently, something else was kind of, we've always had a pretty open position on our data and data sharing and data gathering from farmers. We've always been very upfront about that. And we've got a blog on it where we kind of say, you know, the farmers own their data and we want to be very respectful of their privacy. But I think, you know, engaging with the Fork and the Meetup team and kind of discussing that further, what we were able to learn is, you know, different stakeholders have different perceptions of what data privacy means, and different expectations on us about, well, how are we managing that data? What's our like written terms? And I think we'd kind of just thought, well, we're upfront about it. That's probably enough. But you know, I think getting the European perspective, because I am based in Australia, I think was really interesting to kind of get a bit of actually data is a really big deal. And, you know, when you're working with different stakeholders, including NGOs and the public, you need to be very clear about how you're handling and managing people's data. So that was also very informative for us.
Okay, thanks. Good to hear that we contributed something at least. And we probably gave you also a bit of bad advice, or maybe not so useful. Do you have an example of that?
So I tried to think of some bad advice. I can't actually think of anything where I thought, that's really terrible advice. What are they saying? I'm sure there was probably advice where perhaps we disagree. But again, I have struggled to actually come up with examples. I think for us, we really came into this year in this meetup process with an open mind. We're trying to go, you know, it's a different community and it's a different, I guess, cultural experience. And it's likely that there'll be a lot of very interesting things that come up from each meetup that we won't have considered, or we may not have considered in the same way. So I don't think there's ever been a time where I've been like, what are they talking about? And it's more about potentially just differences of opinions in how we see things versus the Fork sees things. And I think that's a good thing. So, yeah, I wish I had a good story about, you know, I don't know, a terrible piece of advice, but I don't remember receiving any.
Oh, that's good to hear as well. But we didn't send you somewhere into the bushes with our advice. Looking back, is there anything you missed? Like you think, well, we didn't cover this subject, or we thought we could get support on this or that?
I mean, look, honestly, I mean, you know, from our perspective, and I guess for the audience benefit, the process was very collaborative, I think, in the setting of the monthly kind of topics and discussion points. And we were able to have a lot of input in, these are the things that are important to us. And not exclusively so, but I think to a degree where we were able to. So I don't really think there was anything we didn't get the chance to cover. And I think it's also been very interesting having the Fork kind of suggest some monthly topics where, you know, it was kind of for us to reflect on how we felt and how important that was for us. Yeah, I mean, you know, to be honest, we had a lot of opportunities to, you know, I'm not sure if we had 10 sessions in total or what the maybe 9, but there's definitely a lot of opportunity to discuss pretty much everything that we thought was relevant to this kind of a meeting.
Okay, thanks. Do you have because we're going to have an election after this of a new case we're going to adopt. Do you have any advice for a new company or a new idea that's going to be supported by the network?
I mean, one, it probably helps if you're in the same time zone.
Definitely.
Any advice? No, I mean, I think what I would just say is definitely don't be afraid to ask. You know, if there's you need some help doing an investigation, or if you need some help in thinking, to not be afraid to put that out there to either the Fork team or the audience, because you know, I know that the audience along the way, different members have participated. You know, kind of volunteered some thinking time or maybe some research time, and I think that can be really invaluable. Because you never really know who's going to be in the audience. You don't really know their skill set and their experiences. But but it's when you're, especially depending on where you're at as a company, but if you're a bit more early stage, an early stage startup, kind of like we are, having that input from individuals from the public who probably have a really great skill set and experience and can contribute from a thinking perspective, that's invaluable. So I would definitely recommend to don't be afraid to say, hey, actually, we're struggling with this challenge and we don't really know what to do. I mean, it can be a bit confronting when you're in a public arena to admit that there are things you don't know, especially as a business that's trying to be like, hey, we've got it all working. But the truth is most companies, and particularly early stage companies, don't have all the answers. So that would be my main piece.
Okay, thanks a lot. I look into the audience. Are there any questions that you like to ask to Angus? Because this is your last opportunity, almost. Anyone with a burning question for Angus?
What are the plans?
What are the plans that AgUnity has for the next year?
So it's a very obviously it's a very good question. It's a very big question. 2018 was a very big learning year for us. I think if I was going to list the highlights and lowlights, so on last Friday we received a contract from World Food Programme to do our pilot in Ethiopia.
Congratulations!
Thank you. That's a really, really big deal for us. So we're incredibly excited. We're hoping to be there in January. We've still got to kind of get all the logistics sorted before the end of the year. So that's been really wonderful for us because we see that as a huge partnership, and both sides have discussed an ambition to expand in Ethiopia. There's 100 million plus people, huge amount of smallholders, a huge amount of impact potential. So we're very excited by that. I guess for next year, the idea would be to take our projects in Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea into the thousands of farmers. I think we would also be keen to, something we're seeing is financial services for underserved communities or farmers has become a bigger topic recently. So we're really keen to do a project where we're able to deliver financial services from a bank or a third-party financial institution to farmers who aren't connected. They have no bank account, they have no way to manage their money, they've got no way to access loans. We see huge impact potential there, and we realize that our platform is actually incredibly well positioned to be able to deliver these services. They're probably a couple of the main things that come to mind. I think in terms of, I think for the audience, something that was very interesting this year was, our first or main business model that we kind of built, which was really about trying to reduce the charges to farmers because they don't obviously have a lot of money. That has been a struggle to communicate with stakeholders, and that was based on the marketplace model. So you set up a marketplace. AgUnity is just the platform. You have the farmers on one side and the suppliers on the other, and we get paid by the suppliers for sales to the farmers. And that kind of setup meant that the farmers didn't actually have to pay directly, but honest feedback we've had from stakeholders is they struggle to see how you get to that size and how you set up more. So that's just thinking and how we're going to kind of do the revenue model. I think 2019 will look different in that perspective. So yeah, so it's been an awesome year, and we've learned a lot, and I think we're making a few little adjustments now so that we can kind of set ourselves up to really hit the ground running in 2019.
Okay, thanks. That sounds like a good plan. Angus, we have to wrap it up from here. And I think you were looking forward to some nights of good sleep, not waking up in the middle of the night to talk to a bunch of Dutchkies. We'd like to thank you very, very much for your contribution. There's one question from Chris. Oh, just wait. There's one more question.
Just for you, Angus. I would like to thank you very much for being with us this last year. Some of our audience might be incredibly shy, but enthusiastically to help you, and maybe are unaware on how to contact you. So, how could they possibly do that?
Yeah, for sure. So. Look, the two main channels that you can contact us is either info@agunity.com. We also have a contact form on our website that you can use, Or if you'd like, you know, feel free to contact me directly, and my email address is just angus@agunity.com. And you know, I think it's a good point, Chris. That a lot of people who contribute to this project, you know, we have a lot of volunteers who help out, and it means a lot to us. And you know, we are able to do a lot more because people have, you know, got a few spare hours per week. But even if you're just curious to know more and you're kind of like, you know, where are you doing your projects? What's the opportunity to expand or whatever? Feel free to drop me a line because we're always definitely keen to talk to any interested parties. So, and look, thank you to the Fork team. Thank you to, I guess, all the audience, everyone who's coming every month. I think it's fantastic that this kind of, I guess, a meetup exists. I think it's a really big discussion around blockchain, around food. And we see so much traction in the market that I think if you're here and you're kind of participating in this conversation, you're in a really exciting area, and I think it's going to grow and expand. And yeah, so I mean, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I never genuinely would have thought that I wouldn't mind getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning every month, but it's actually been very rewarding to kind of have these conversations. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to Marieke and the Fork team. And yeah, and it's a little bit sad I'm saying goodbye, but hopefully you get a great case for next year, and yeah, it just keeps on going.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Angus. Yeah, a big applause for you. Yeah, yeah.
We'll definitely have you back in the meetup. So we definitely want to know how things progress and how they go. So you won't get lost. We won't let you lose. Thanks, Angus.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
And to the audience here, I've got one last. There was a slide, but it's not available yet. But I would like to. No problem. I would like to thank all the people that of the Case team that make this possible. All the volunteers that helped us to create content, and the audience for your patience to digest it and to understand it and to help us every time with new volunteers and new knowledge. And I hope for the next case there's many volunteers and as many knowledgeable people to help us again. Thank you very much.
Okay, so it's election time. Can you swap? Can we get the slide back on, because it gives us they're interesting candidates, Angus. I'm keen to. You should vote. Yeah, get your team to vote. Yeah. Here's the thing. So we have 4 cases. Each of them, this is the team that helped. Yeah, a few of them. Yeah.
How was this all for you as an organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, well, I'm really. Yeah, well, no, we're actually very short on time, but just very brief. They were very open, and I think this is also a presumption for the next cases. It's very difficult if your innovation is on the front row. If you work with smallholders, I mean, this is tough stuff, and then you also have this new technology nobody really knows. So there's a lot of vague people who want to claim and who want to, go and help you. It's very easy to sort of take advice, but be very sort of inwards in terms of digesting and doing stuff. And AgUnity was very open. They were very, of course, they were less transparent on the, the normal.
Should we do Live Local first? So we start by Live Local. What is Live Local? Bring us into Live Local.
Alright. So hello everyone. You might know me from the Fair Food I bring every week. And today I'm going to talk about Fair Food again, namely the Live Local initiative. It is an initiative by the Blockchain Labs. It's project by several companies from the tech world as well as the food world. And the first project will be on lowlands, where we will give millennials the opportunity to decrease the amount of damage they do to their own body by giving them personalized health advice. So how will this look like? We will take something personal from the people that come by and use this data to give them advice on how they can specifically tailor-made to their body type increase their health, basically. And we will use blockchain for this in several ways. It's not 100% clear yet how it will be implemented, but as far as I understand, it will be both the traceability of the food, so it will be local food from places around lowlands. So this will be traceable blockchain, and of course it's personalized data, so it's nice if your personal data is in your hands. So very interesting project. I would love to learn more about it. Vote on Live Local. Yeah.
Yay! Great. Okay, that was Live Local. Then do we go to Moyi or we go to?
Everybody on Skype at the same time.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so all these three are on Skype. So, come again? What is Lowlands? Yeah. Who's been to Lowlands? Yeah. Exactly. It's where food comes from. Okay. It's the flavor polder. Yeah. It's the festival. It's you know it's culture. It's where people are shaped.
I will be.
Well, what's so funny?
Any questions?
You need some mic.
I have this question for Live Local. So it will be a service for consumers?
So I heard I was going to pitch Live Local today. So, but as I understand, it will be basically the first implementation will be on lowlands where people can get local food and also, yes, the personalized health advice. After that, I think it will focus on more festivals. Yeah, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it really aims at sort of consumers. So make consumers more aware of that you can protect your data, that blockchain can have a function in that, and that personalized information really can help you actually recover from your hangover. But in the short term, but get you more healthy in the long term.
I would like to add, I think I'm the target segment of this project because I'm the typical millennial that goes to festivals and then eat my avocado salad on my way home to decrease the damage. So I would be a willing customer.
Great, good. Yeah. Aha, we have Skype back on. Thank you, Rafael. So this is one. Then we have number 2, which is Moyi Coffee with Guido.
Hello?
Yay, Guido.
Hello.
Okay, it's stage time. Guido, Moyi, what is it? Why are you an interesting case?
If you want, you can turn on your video, Guido.
Yes, how are we doing that? Wait a moment. It's better, eh? Yes.
Hi, Guido.
Hi.
Who knows Moyi? Who's heard about Moyi coffee? Yeah, your marketing is good.
Can I see everybody raises their hands?
50.
Ah, very good. So what is the idea? If people understand what we are doing, what is the new thing I could add other than that basically of the 85% of bullshit blockchain pilots killed over the last year? We're still there. We survived, and we go on. And we could need some help in thinking basically what steps we need to undertake to make it an even better blockchain platform.
Yeah, most people don't know what you have, what blockchain you have, what part of blockchain you have. So
yeah, okay. So basically, yeah, well, at least what we see is that most people focus on efficiency or traceability, the track and trace part. And basically, what we are saying that the supply chain that's the boring part of the supply chain. I think it should be some kind of checkbox. But for us, the most interesting thing is how can you create a shared value chain with a positive externality? That means how can you basically create a value chain where the value is shared more equally, showing who earns what is at least the starting point of a discussion. Is it fair? Could it be done differently? But we use blockchain mainly because it could be a driver for transferring value from consumers to farmers and roasters in country of origin. And then when we talk about positive externalities, we try to basically not only take the responsibility as a company for our chain, but also contribute to some wrongdoing of the last 100 years. And in our industry, it's of course about deforestation, but especially about a living income. 25 million coffee farmers worldwide live below a poverty level. And also from our own farmer program, we notice that everything we do will not lead to a living income. So you cannot do that alone. You have to create some kind of impact ecosystem where we work with NGOs and with Mohi, of course. But we also have to invest in value-added activities, and we have to invest in scaling up these small holders. And blockchain could play an important role in that because these farmers are now completely unbankable. They don't have a credit history. They don't have basically any verifiable data of what they are doing. So by logging, and that's where we started last year, by logging the payments to them, and today the second live feeds went live. So the second year in a row where we are logging these payments. You can imagine that after 2 or 3 or 4 years, they are able to show to the bank or to anybody who wants to borrow them some money. They can show the track record or the credit worthiness.
Yeah.
So that's where we started. Basically, the boring track and trace traceability part. Then put on top a layer that enables transfer of real value from individual consumers to individual farmers. And now move more deeper into the first mile in the farming community by giving them wallets, making sure the data is gathered to prepare them for bankability.
Okay, I have to stop your pitch there.
Yeah. Oh, it's a pitch. Oh,
it's a pitch. Yes. So this was Coffee Mohi pitching unconsciously.
Okay, so well.
Number two. Okay, Guido, that's so far for you. Coffee, completely re-innovating supply chain, going beyond tracking and tracing. Number 3 is John. Jury. How can we get jury?
So, shall I do that one as well?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Chris, can you help us get jury? Okay. Oh, this is so yeah, sure is your living room. Yeah. Oh, that's great. So where's the coffee? Oh, the piano. Oh, you can play some in the meantime tune. Yeah.
Hello.
Joe. So we need Joe. Is Joe coming up?
Yes.
Great.
This is Kristen.
So Joe is Ethic Hub.
Hub. Yes, I am Hari. Hari from Ethic Hub, yes?
Yes.
And you are Kristen, right?
Okay.
Hi, you are live to an audience right now. If you want, you can turn on your camera so that everybody can see you. And yes, my name is Christian. I'm the tech guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm driving, and
you're driving.
Yes, it will take me 2 minutes to put on the camera.
Okay. Okay. Well, we really want to know about FIB, right? This is and that's you, right? Is that correct? This is the correct line.
Sure. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So as a person that obviously has never heard of FIB, tell us more. What is this FIB?
FIB is about connecting you with small farmers wherever in the world. So you can lend them money, and in a way that you get a good return and they pay less interest than what they are used to. So that's why we call ourselves FIB, because we want to find a fair deal between you and the farmers.
It's payments?
It's not payments, it's loans.
Loans?
It's P2P loans, blockchain based for sure.
Okay. And why would I use your concept over normal loans?
I mean, this is unbanked farmers, so they don't have access to regular financial services. So this is, they only have access to local cash loans that are super expensive. So this is for them a huge improvement from what they have nowadays.
Okay, so to summarize, they don't have access to normal funds, and therefore you're doing it through a blockchain platform.
Yeah, we are using blockchain to improve efficiency, to improve traceability, because you can do this through microfinance institutions, but it's a centralized system, it's not transparent system, and at the end they are not reaching the farmers because it's very inefficient system at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's small money arriving when there are still 1.5 billion unbanked people, and most of them are farmers. That means actual system is not working properly for these people.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We have to keep it brief. So this was FIB. Stay on the line because we're going to vote. And then we have the last one, and I think this is Jenny, right? Do we have Jenny? Jenny, are you there?
Can Guido and FIB, can you please mute your mic?
Yes, sorry, one second.
You. Okay. Guido, you too?
Jenny, where's Jenny?
Yeah, they're coming. Being called now. But I don't see him in the conversation yet. Beep, boop, beep, boop.
Okay, so number 4. So we have number 1.
Mooi, then FIB now. And live local. And Jan needs to pick up.
Do you want me to say something? Okay.
No, we're waiting for number 4.
We're waiting for number 4.
Yeah, so I just putting the camera for a moment. This is nice to meet you.
Hi! You're no longer driving.
No, I ended my drive. Thank you. But I am having a meeting in 5 minutes.
Oh, that's great. We're going to vote on your concept while you're not here.
So no, I can arrive 5 minutes late or something, but not very long.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question in the meantime while we're waiting for our 4th candidate? Is basically your offering about the lending? Is that something that we could add as a depth to our platform, because we try to build it agnostic to specific blockchains, but have this middle layer that should be operatable with other features. We focus on the core engine, but
so we get the 2-for-1 offering here, right?
Yeah,
Refill is coming up.
Because we are designing the same feature, and of course it's more profound because it links to actually
I'm
consume.
not sure what.
Yeah. Oh wait, so there we have Jan.
Oh,
Let us give one very short answer from Ethic Hub. Can you integrate with Moji?
I'm not sure what is Moji. Sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna. Sorry, Guido, we're gonna drop the question. Yeah. Okay. We're going to Jenny and Jan. They're in Washington D.C. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Jan.
We're not on a bicycle. We're not in a car. We're in a simple office.
Yeah. Okay. Pitch us. What are you about? What is case number 4 that we can pick?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny, and I'm from Harvest Plus. And we are a solution to tackle one of the world's biggest problems, which is malnutrition. So 25% of the world's population suffer from malnutrition. So that's 2 billion people worldwide who don't have the opportunity for a happy and healthy, productive life. The problem is so severe, it's one of the World Bank's top priorities to tackle. So at Harvest Plus, we have developed more naturally nutritious staple crops. So we have, for example, vitamin A, orange maize, zinc wheat, iron beans, iron pearl millet, and we develop crops that are much more superior to standard crops in nutritional value, and we disseminate them to the smallholder farmers who do not have access to the formal food system, so they do not have access to fortification or supplements, and the world's population that really needs the help the most. In order to reach our target of reaching 1 billion of the world's most malnourished by 2030, we need the food industry to adopt our technology, and we need the food industry to adopt biofortification into their supply chains, and they will disseminate the nutrition for us. But one of our biggest barriers to scale up is that the food industry are unwilling to adopt biofortification because they can't tell the difference between a biofortified crop or a standard crop at face value, and that we have no authenticity or throughout the supply chain. So we are looking for a partner, and we are looking for a solution to overcome this problem, so that the food industry will adopt biofortification and that they can be assured that they have procured a biofortified product.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Thank you.